They so Big Dipper.
All the drip that she been putting on just to take it off. I can put you on a plane, the CPA gon' write it off.
And today, we are reacting to the boy who played the harp. Dave, like a thief in the night, dropped another music video off of his album. I'm so excited for this. Like I said, I'm gonna be going to see Dave live in Houston. So if you gonna be there, pull up, show some love, dap a nigga up, get a picture, whatever you want. We outside. Hit that thumbs up button. This video has a 10,000 thumbs up goal. Let's get to work.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder, what would I do in the next generation? In 1940, if I was enlisted to fight for the nation, or in 1960, if I had to fight for the rights of my people and lay down my life on the line so my grandkids could live a life that's peaceful, would I be on that? Would I be front line?
Sometimes I do think of like the Black British or the Black Americans or the people that were in America in the 1960s and times like that where the civil rights movement, and I'm more familiar with what happened in America. I don't really know how y'all's whole history played out, but the civil rights movements and a lot of moments like that where people are fighting for the rights of their children. Because one thing that is to be spoken about, and it's something that you got to think of, as a black man going to, I think comedian said it, the first black man to go eat at a white establishment, there was a 95% chance he ate spit that day. They probably spit in his food, right? Which is disgusting. But he took that, he did that because the idea was in 60 years, laws and rules will be made that allow everybody to be equal. And maybe it isn't so serving for me to go eat this spit sandwich right now, but I am fighting for a greater good, a greater cause. And it took so much power and voice and strength, and sometimes I look at just because of like how much we've advanced as people, and I see how, you know, somebody like Bill Cosby would say something like, black kids need to pull their pants up, and they don't really understand how problematic that is in today. But I understand, based off of your understanding of the world, how you might have moments of ignorance, and I still respect and honor everybody who fought for us. And some of the people who fought for us, we might not agree with all of their shit, but the bravery it took to fight, because would you have? Would I have? I don't know. There's bullshit that happens in social media that I don't say nothing about. I just be like, sometimes you feel like your voice be voiced, but like, what's the point? What am I gonna bitch about how this works here or this works here? A lot of times I'll be like, let me just try my best to fight against this system. But a lot of that could be selfish. Maybe there is times I should speak more for the greater good, even if it isn't self-serving in moments like that, because I don't know. And in all honesty, I don't know. I don't know if I would have died for the rights of other people. I hope that I would. And I guess I've been in situations where that could have happened. But man, everybody says what they would do until they're in that situation, and I'm a firm believer in that.
That's what I'm thinking. If I was alive in the 1912 and the Titanic and it was sinking, who am I saving? Am I fighting women and children, or am I waiting? I wonder, what would I do in the next generation?
And that's that real shit, and that's why I love Dave's artistry, because it's honest. It's like, nigga, I'm in the Titanic. I don't know if I finna just let all the women and kids get on the boat. Y'all niggas gonna have to whoop me. I'm gonna be like, they need somebody to protect them from the dolphins. And that's gonna be the Dipper, huh?
For the sake of my father, would I stand on my honor like Hussein did and then tell them to make me a martyr? Would I get smarter, forgive my oppressor, stick to the creed? If I got locked inside like Nelson Mandela but never was freed, I see a white man dance to rumba, ain't studied Patrice Lumumba, but get on the stage and sing like Sumba, la ja 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 Sumba. Fuck it, I wonder, what would I do in the next generation? Would I...
He speaks to the... And you do... That is such a nuanced thought, because art is meant to be shared. I think what actually makes art, what gives art is acknowledgement is by people saying it. It's not that it makes it art, but you don't know of a painting until you know of a painting. So a lot of these Black, African, Asian art forms have traveled, dance, fashion, have traveled the world, and the influence is doing what influence does, and is inspiring people to do their variations of it. And so I always understand. You put on Afro beats for a bunch of shit. When I went to Burna Boy's concert, there's a bunch of white girls in there, white guys in there, because they just love the music and they're willing to spend hundreds of dollars to watch and support the music. But where it gets tricky is a lot of these people's legacies get destroyed, get bastardized, and then get sold as a thing, and you don't know their importance. And so you think that the doctor Harvard, all he created was peanut butter, but created aspirin, he created all those other things, and it's actually a very concerted effort to destroy the history of those who have it. And you have to realize there's a large group of people in this world who are almost trying to pretend that their history never happened. And because they're trying to pretend their history didn't happen, now the rest of us got to suffer for it. If you, Eurocentrism, if you go and read some African textbooks, they're different because they're trying to rewrite history. And it does need to be said. But at the same time, it's like the art does translate. And that's why I say it's beautifully nuanced, like what he said, because what he's saying is like, to them, it's just words. He doesn't know it's a battle cry. But at the same time, I could say, Dave, maybe it's a battle cry to them too. It's just like, God, it's nuanced. It is very nuanced to me.
Fuck it. I wonder, what would I do in the next generation? Would I fight for justice? Is it the reason my mum named me David? How can you be king? How can you be king? Don't speak for the people. That man tried to draw me.
And Dave struggles with so much of that in this album. I really enjoyed this album. Like this, when he's talking about, does he said he never drink Coke, but does that mean Fanta as well? He's in Dubai watching the literal slaves in Dubai. It's like, I love how nuanced this album is. I thought that's a great word for it. This album was incredibly nuanced.
Out and compare like me and these niggas are equal. I'm a black man and this bozo saying my music's socially conscious, while the man them trolling responses. This world's gone totally bonkers. I sometimes wonder.
We gonna have to break it down bar for bar because, yeah, he says I'm a black man, but they say that I'm socially conscious, but is he being socially conscious, or is it just that people don't realize what it is like to be a persecuted person in this world? And people don't know what it's like to be assumed the worst of, and to be assumed you're stupid or violent or criminal. And so if I get on here and speak to those things, sometimes it sounds like I'm a freedom fighter, and that's dope if I am. But in reality, it's like I might not even be. This is personally affecting me. And a lot of people, he's saying, just turn a blind eye. And where I was talking to earlier is where I feel for people is there are so many battles in this world. There's so much evil in this world that there's a never-ending amount of light that should be a mountain of shine. If I talk about this shit, I didn't talk about this war. If I talk about this group of people, I didn't talk about this group of people. So with that, it becomes very, like, confusing. Like, nigga, what do you do? What can I do?
What would I do in the next generation? But I'm knowing the answer. Cause what am I doing in this generation? Afraid to speak, I don't want to risk in my occupation. We got kids under occupation. Our parents, they wouldn't get that. The people that died for our freedom spoke on justice, couldn't accept that. I talk about the money in all my accounts, so why don't I speak on the West Bank? Remember, growing up prejudiced, the damage.
He said, I talk about all the money in my account, so why don't I talk about the West Bank? Well, because if you do, they'll debank you, brother.
7-7 did. Extremists and terrorists. I was afraid of the Taliban. Can't speak out on illegal settlers now. I'm afraid of a shadow ban. What would I do in the next generation?
And this is why I love this song. Is it in moments where we feel hopeless. I was saying, like, what do we do? He's telling you, you just keep fighting. If they shadow ban us, they shadow ban us. And that's a lot easier to say in Dave's position than maybe an up-and-coming content creator. But it took Dave fighting a lot of fights to get where he is, and he still has records like Black, and he's always fought the good fight. But really, nigga, it's just like, yeah, you have to keep fighting, and you have to keep saying. And one of my fights I fight is against the exploitation of music, right, and the exploitation of British music. And I just say, all of you watching, be very careful of the Knox Hill, Cliff Beats. All these niggas you might just randomly see in this mix when the algorithm favors it. Be careful of those niggas. Those niggas don't really like this shit the way you think, and it's more predatory to them. And I think that's why I try to. But like I say, I always feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like sometimes I'm turning a blind eye. Even like with that whole Mike Righteous situation, right? But I did actually come out and say it. As we figured out, that nigga was lying the whole fucking time about Big Zoo. He was lying. None of that happened. I, as a person who personally spoke with him and dealt with the copyright, Big Zoo didn't do that. This wasn't some shit about Israel, like he was trying to... No, it wasn't. Nigga, you used Kanye West. It was... God, that nigga was lying to y'all, though. It was... So he pretty much said that, like, they were trying to silence him and shit like that. But they weren't. He just used the 007, Golden Gun, the game. No, 007, the movie. He used a sample of that, which is owned by them. That's not silencing. Like, when I make this video, Dave's record label is going to claim this video. That's just fucking how copyright works. If you've worked in this industry, you understand how it works. Dave isn't personally doing it. When you upload your music to your distro, like I use DistroKid. When you upload to DistroKid, you mark, do you want it to auto-claim? Now, I am a content creator, so I don't. Because I would like content creators to freely be able to use my shit and make money. But I don't expect this nigga to be thinking for content creators. Just like no major artist does. You get a few, but almost no major artist just lets your shit go unclaimed. So, niggas lie. And I need to make sure I use this platform to go, yeah, no, Mike Righteous was lying to you guys. He was completely lying to you guys. That didn't happen. Big Zoo didn't do those things. And even the people who were propagating that agenda were lying. And it's amazing.
Critiquing African leaders for selling our country's natural resources to the West for peanuts. If they don't hear, they'll feel us. I question what country, Taliban. Can't speak out on illegal settlers now. I'm afraid of a shadow ban. What would I do in the next generation? Critiquing African leaders for selling our country's natural resources to the West for peanuts. If they don't hear, they'll feel us. I question...
God, and the greed of some of our own people to allow us to get into some of these situations, but I don't blame them, because how could I expect somebody who's never even seen a white person to contextualize that this person's ultimate goal is to take you over? I think it's what happens is if you didn't deal with the European, and every one of us, Native Americans, Africans, the only reason Asians niggas got to make it is you niggas had gunpowder before they did. But everybody who's dealt with the European, especially since they've gotten gunpowder, nigga, we've all suffered. Because we aren't under the same understanding of this world as they are. If a Native American believes he can't own land, you come try to tell it to these British niggas putting these fucking plantations up, they can't own this motherfucker. That they have and they're not right. The Native Americans aren't wrong. There's no, it's just a very different perspective of the world, and it's very predatory, and it allowed them to conquer as much of the world as they did. And I still be like, man, it's hard to fault those people who fell for that trap. I don't fault them, because that was a sick, evil game they were playing. We niggas didn't know. Like, I look at it like this. If me and you said we were going on a hunting competition, let's call it a competition, and whoever gets the biggest fish wins, and you go out and you go, the biggest, okay, fish works. You go out, you go get a 6-foot fish, and your brother goes out and he goes and gets a 7-foot fish. And I take my fishing bow and I shoot your brother in the head, and I take his 7-foot fish and I say it's my 7-foot fish. I won. I technically won this game, right? But I wasn't. How can you call that a win? You weren't. What the hell? That's what you did to get this? Okay. Oh, all right. I understand how you got it, but damn, that is sort of what Europe did to the rest of the world.
Can you say you're alive if you ain't got something you're willing to die for? What am I willing to die for? What am I doing in this generation? I get in my head sometimes. I feel like I'm in despair. That feeling of total powerlessness. I get that sinking feeling that good ain't defeating evil. I put their pain on vinyl, but feel like that shit ain't moving a needle. Retweeting people, raising awareness.
Put my shit on vinyl, but feel like it's not moving the needle. Because I do wonder, it's like he's literally saying what I was saying too of. But what is me saying this shit in these YouTube videos? What is that gonna do? It's not like I'm getting millions of views. It's not like, can I really change the world just in, my little voice?
I put their pain on vinyl, but feel like that shit ain't moving a needle. Retweeting people, raising awareness. In all fairness, ain't gonna bring Chris back to his parents, but there's no other option. It's a process, gotta stand and protest. Cause they want man silenced, cause they want man dead, or they want man hopeless. In the next generation, I spoke with my ancestors in the night and I showed them. They spoke with tears in their eyes for the brothers they lost and said it was progress. How can it be progress? I asked them, confused, disgusted. They said, David, just so you could fight this, you know how much suffering touched us. And you got a chance. We come from a time and a place where you couldn't get justice. Had to find peace in the fact that we all answer to the one that we trust in. And in our generation,
and just to have the ability to speak, someone had to die for it. And you gotta remember that. And you gotta remember that when you feel small, because at time, like, nigga, that shit just gave me goosebumps, because I'm like, yeah, that shit I was saying was asinine, because, yeah, obviously I could make some kind of a difference. I mean, what am I supposed to do? The problem be the consequences. The problem is people are actually losing their lives. People are actually going through these terrible things in real life. And it feels like just making a YouTube video in comparison to somebody losing their life doesn't feel like I'm doing very much. But it's a process. It's step by step. And if that's your role in the process, that's your role in the process. But you can't, because you have a fear of something not being done, do nothing. Because that's what they want.
we did do peaceful protests just like you. Burnt buildings just like you. Did boycotts just like you. Sat in a hostel powerless, did feel powerless just like you. And I know that it may sound strange, but we made some change and we're just like you. I know that you question your character. I know that you suffer in silence. I know that it don't feel right when you go to the club in Victoria Island. Cause how can you dance in a club there's 100 people begging outside it? I know the sins of your father. I know that you're desperate to fight them.
And if you, I'm telling, this is why Dave is better than J. Cole. Let's just go down the fuck J. Cole. No, this is why Dave is better than J. Cole, and anybody who doesn't think it is just xenophobic. Dave is essentially doing exactly saying and doing what J. Cole is trying to prove with his RV. I mean, driving around in his Hyundai, but it's way less performative and it's real, and that's why it translates better. He's just trying to say that I am conscious that this wealth I have does lead to greater problems. But instead of for you to just pretend you aren't rich and drive a Honda, he's expounding on that thought. And if you're rich, drive whatever car you want. I think that's just dumb to get rich and not drive a good car. But if you really want to make a difference, it's there. It's less in the performative and more in the action. And this is very action and thought-provoking. This is very, oh, you're right. This is very empowering. And that is why Dave is a generational talent.
Step in your purpose, speak for your people, share your secrets, expose your emotions. You might not see, but there's people that need it, never demand it. And if God can grant it, manifest it and receive it. Your name is David, and that covenant's sacred. You got a promise, so keep it, deep it. That man talking the thing, but I bleed it. Man wanna speak on the scene, but I've seen it. Tried in the fire, but I get some anointed. Kano passed me the torch, I received it. God told me I'm.
Ooh, he said, cried in the fire, but I get some anointed. Oh my God. Free guest. I don't want to say free that nigga, but I will say I wish that shit never happened. You know, prayers to the man who lost his life.
The one I believed it. Shout hollow man, cause he helped me achieve it. I'm the youngest of my brothers. Father, he's the burden on our mothers. Give these niggas money, see their colors. Don't mix me with them, I'm not the one. Grind and miss the summer when it comes. I'm Abraham, I sacrificed the son. Where I'm from, they sacrifice the son. Hold up, I ain't finished, I ain't done. My ancestors told me that my life is prophecy. And it's not just me, it's a whole generation of people gradually making change. They ain't a great.
His ancestors said his life is prophecy, because our all words. all of our lives were. And people fought very hard just so we can be in these places we are. You gotta remember that, and just maybe even in the moments where you don't love yourself, because it happens, maybe you can remember to love them and keep fighting and keep pushing. Because nigga, yeah, it took so much. Like, I'm a first generation American, African American, where my parents came from Nigeria to America, and then I was born here. Nigga, I know what they had to go through. I know how so many of my friends struggle moving from state to state, moving city to city. Talk less of a fucking 1,000 miles over the ocean to a different continent where you don't know anybody, where you're being treated as less than. Some of these people that were coming from my village at the time, one day was a doctor. Came as a doctor and had to re-go through school, was doing home health, home health, was doing that kind of work, wasn't being treated as a doctor, and he essentially had to restart his entire life because of what he was trying to establish for his people, because of, the opportunity that this place provides to people. And in moments like that, you got to remember, keep fighting, bro. Keep fighting. For everybody who got spit on and called the N-word, for everybody who's told they are not allowed to do something, you have to keep fighting. It is very necessary.
A task, shift that, make a name, make a start. They'll know what they're facing when they ask. With a will of David in my heart, the story of the boy who played the harp.
The man who became king with his music. Dave, certified vibe check. Here comes another music video by me right here. Boom, boom. Click on it, show me some love. KBD family, love y'all. Hit that thumbs up button. We gone.